Opposed, motion carries. Next thing is for the sludge landfill garage. Tom Hayes could not be here tonight, but he gave us a memo. Have you all seen the memo?
Yes.
For the record, I'll read it. It says,
Yes.
the right one. Following is an update regarding the City of Attleboro's Phase 3 landfill garage. We are currently in talks with Collins Construction regarding liquidated damages, direct payment to filed subbids, and repetitive review costs. We will be submitting a change order incorporating these items along with pay estimate number 15 on or before the next MBC meeting. So they're still negotiating, and there's nothing for us to do, but maybe at the next meeting we'll be able to take a vote to close this project out.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, and then next we have an update in writing from Courtney, who also could not be here tonight. And her memo says, the Water Department and City Hall staff met with the abutting property owner and CDM Smith staff on May 7th to discuss transfer of the property. The issue is still not settled. The site control issue of the site delays construction to a tentative timeline of spring 2020. Excuse me. And then she says she's reviewed CDM Smith invoice 900722315 in the amount of $33,194.57 for engineering services related to the project. I approve payment of this invoice. So, are there any questions on that? Then I think a motion would be in order to approve payment of that invoice.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. For the library, I can tell you that the consultant that we hired a sub-consultant. Somebody who came up from New York City and actually seemed to be very knowledgeable. They spend a number of days here meeting with everybody, and I think that they have some interesting ideas as to what to do with the current library building. They did not understand that we had wanted them to do an assessment of alternative sites. So what we decided to do was to listen to what they have to say about this site first, and then decide whether we want to amend the contract further to look at other sites. So we are expecting by the end of this month to have their report, and then what we will do at our June meeting, or perhaps at a special meeting in June, is to spend the night having them tell us what's in their report, what their recommendations are, give us the opportunity to ask questions. I would think we would want to invite the library staff and the library board of trustees to that meeting to make sure that everybody has the same bit of information, and of course, the mayor. And so then we would be able to determine what our course of action is going forward. So, with that being said, I don't know that we have any other business to transact tonight. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up? Hearing none, our next meeting will be June 5th. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 5:35. We're very efficient, Andrew. Don't be late. Ed, did you, I know you came in late.
The agendas are in the back.
Did you get the two memos from Courtney and
I
from
did.
Tom? So I just read those into the record, so.
Thank you.
You didn't miss anything.
I read them from Gail. Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome.
So, I think I technically have 10 minutes until we can start the school meeting.
Invoice for you to sign.
And you can have this back. And I wish that we could just move the clock hands forward and start, but
Can't start early though.
no, it's an illegality. Today is
I heard a
Friday.
familiar voice the other night. I threw on one of the double ACS channels, and there was a high
Like-
school lacrosse game.
Oh, lacrosse
going
game,
on.
yeah. I call this meeting to order. It is 5:46. ABC meeting.
I won't say that.
How's everybody doing tonight, all right?
Good.
Real good.
Okay, so we're calling to order at 5:46, and the first order of business is a vote on the April invoices.
Oh, I'm sorry, they weren't available yet. You can,
Steve, you need to sign this, so if we pass it down.
Scratch that, okay, so we're not gonna do that. Okay, so next is a project update from Insigne, so Steve?
Yep.
Take it away.
Sure. So we've started our work on the north-south connector to Rathbun Willard. That's where we're gonna continue, and we'll start putting the utilities within that section of the road. And then we've also started excavation for the pump station that is down on the corner of heading down to the Brennan School there. So that's the next couple of weeks. That's actually going to be our focus, is those two areas. So the site will kind of look pretty similar for a while. It'll look like we're not doing much, but we actually will be. And then we had someone, I think it was for Verizon, or there was some activity that was not related to us that was happening yesterday at the corner of Rathbun Willard. It was Riggs something. We understand that they were working for one of the site utilities, maybe for something in the future. So I don't know if that comes up, but that was not affiliated with our project. Anybody saw that? Okay, no, okay. Pretend I didn't say anything.
What was it? What was the,
I think I
was
have
it Columbia Gas?
a
or
picture. I believe it was
Verizon?
either Verizon or National Grid
Okay.
had someone poking around over on the left-hand side of that turn as you come down. There's a construction vehicle and some activity there, but
Yeah, they're frequently working throughout the city, so it could have been anything.
yeah. Just it was outside our fence line, and just wanted to make people aware it was not us.
Very good.
Planning Board voted our major site plan approval Monday night unanimously, and that decision will be ready in another week or so, and then there's an appeal period, and then we can record that decision. And tomorrow night, we have a hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals in order to make the parking spaces at Highland Park 9x18s rather than 10x20s. I'll handle that, and so that's, and then for the site, major site plan review and the Conservation Commission for the Highland Park parking lot, the notice to proceed went out yesterday, I believe, to Horsley Witten, so we have continued those hearings into June so that we can get Horsley Witten's peer review back and respond to whatever they have to say. So that's where we are on permitting.
Question about that. I'd like Steve's input on this, and maybe Ed's as well. If we're gonna change the size of the parking spots to be a little bit smaller, my just observation is a lot of the construction workers often drive pickup trucks, a little bit larger than like a sedan or a Prius or something. Is that a good idea to go with a smaller size parking spot, considering that just anecdotally and just an observation, the guys and gals are gonna be driving larger vehicles? What are your thoughts about that?
It's fine.
Tinkering on the margins?
Yeah, yeah. Will there be 349 instead of 353 at the end of the day? Maybe,
Okay.
but it's not a big enough issue where it's going to cause problems. But yes, there's
And
some
it's
big
an eight-
trucks.
It's an 8-hour turnover. It's not like it's turning over every 20 minutes like a retail,
They're just sitting there.
because they're just sitting there all day.
And they'll create their own comfortable distances, color
Yeah, they-
outside the lines.
I was just going to say, they might not park in the lines either, so.
Yeah.
I just was curious about that, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was meant to put down as little pavement as possible for cost and environmentally. And I think that the, you know, if you take an extra foot, you know, every certain number of feet, you're gonna lose a parking space. So if it's actually 9 feet to 10 feet in width, you're gonna lose in a whole row, you're gonna lose a number of parking spaces. So it was, our judgment, I think, that was the right thing.
Just thinking of construction workers, but
Yeah.
tinkering on margins. If you're not worried about it, I'm not worried about it.
Nope.
Okay, very good.
The guys with the really, really big trucks will park way over on the side.
So we had a couple things, it was the bid package number 2 results and the report of the overall GMP for bid package number 2. Anything else, so?
Yeah, so, we specifically wanted to talk about, the site work piece for bid package 2. We have a recommendation to award.
Do I need to recuse myself?
Yes, you do, I was just about
Okay,
to say
so
that.
let the record reflect that I've recused myself from this discussion, but I will listen to what you have to say.
So specifically with the site work, we want to recommend awarding to Walsh Contracting, Inc. We had 4 bids. We brought the 2 lowest bids in for a full D-scope with KBA, Skanska, and Consigli. We received best and final numbers, and Walsh was the lowest qualified bidder in our mind. We went through some value engineering as a team to help bring the number down, and felt that Walsh was best for the project. They have the scope, they have the manpower, they can meet the schedule. Their number was the best, so we are recommending Walsh do the bid package 2 work. And just a reminder, bid package 2 is essentially a lot of the temporary parking lots. It's ripping up some of the existing around the school and creating new, as well as creating the parking lot over at the Old Highland Country Club for the contractors. That's a bulk of the site work scope, and then it's a little bit of support for some of the mechanical trades, like digging out for the concrete pad, little things here and there, but a bulk of their work is parking lot related.
Very good. Anybody have any discussion they'd like to add? Ed?
Yeah, Steve, what was their qualifying low bid and where did it fit in relation to the budget?
Yep, so the overall recommendation is, 1,785,650. And then some allowances bring us to 1,796,150 versus a budget of 1,673,226. So there technically is an overage of 122,924. But don't forget, last week we talked about the 3 mechanical bids and where those landed, and that was actually a savings of 185,544. So if you look at all 4 together, it's a delta of 62,620 to the good. So under the overall bid package 2 budget.
And that was largely in part due to the Griffin Electric bid that was so far under that helped make up
Yeah,
that
the most
delta,
bulk
right?
of our savings came with the electrical line item. Yep.
Excellent.
And for the purpose of the cameras that are rolling, can you give us a quick summary of what's going to be included in that bid package?
The bid package 2?
Yes, please.
Yeah, the rest of the bid package, other than the parking lots, is, the electrical work is rerouting the current electrical from the pole out by Rathman Willard. We are now gonna run it on top of the school, and we have to go down to an existing electrical room and then run it back to a different electrical room. We are relocating the existing chiller that is outside the pool area. We are removing the large stack and redoing the stack so that it now comes out through the mechanical space. So we're removing the stack and the footing. There's a large footing underneath the ground that you can't see. And then there's a temp ramp. Actually, that's not part of bid package 2. Yes, relocating the gas meter, thank you. There's an existing gas meter on the west side of the school that we have to slide north. And a lot of this is just to allow for the excavation of the new school. In preparation for the large hole.
Is that stack, Dave, is that the same stack that had problems, that we're talking the same one? Okay. Just curious. Very good.
And Steve, just for the record, running the electrical line on top of the building has been approved by the building inspector.
Yes.
And it's considered to be safe, so that we,
Yes,
Yep.
yes,
Oh, that was
Yep.
reviewed with the local authorities.
yeah, they all weighed in, yep.
Does anybody else have any other discussion about this before we make a motion to accept Consigli's recommendation?
Just a question with the allowances.
Yes.
Is it already budgeted what the allowances are gonna be, or is it based on what the utility companies, their cost as they go, like a T&M?
The allowances,
For relocating the gas?
oh, no, it's not an allowance, it was a full scope that was bid out. And there's actual numbers, those are the actual numbers that we got, there were bids,
So those are
trade,
numbers.
they were trade bids.
There are 3 allowances though, right? For
We have
suitable
about-
soil.
For, right, there's some allowances built into the site number in case we hit unsuitable soils. But with respect to the mechanical trades, there
Okay.
weren't allowances. That was actual cost.
We have some typical allowances for if you hit some organics like peat or large boulders that have to be removed and then refilled with
Okay, so they're not
structural soil.
utility allowances, they're,
No, no.
Very good. So, do we have a motion to accept Consigli's recommendation?
Second.
All the ayes say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? No? Very good. Measure's adopted. Thank you.
We have to make a recommendation for the mayor to sign, owner's approval letter as well.
Okay. So I have a we have a motion to make the recommendation for the mayor to sign the
Owner's approval letter.
owner's approval letter. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Any objections? No? Very good. It's adopted as well. I'm going to sign that. Did I already sign that? I already signed that.
Steve's got
I
it.
have 4 of them right
Oh, you
there.
have them right there. Okay, very good.
And then,
Yes. We can bring that up,
So we have the vote to approve the contractors for maybe do site work. Okay, is there anything else? I
I
mean,
think it's the last item, there's a GMP amendment.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Yes.
Mary Ann can address this.
yes. In fact, I'm gonna turn it over to Steve. Steve has GMP amendment, bid amendment 1.
right.
Where he has complete copies of all the backup required. This is meant to be executed for the purposes so that then the subcontractors can stop billing against the work. Once these are executed, a copy will go to the Mass School Building Authority, and so they'll be tracking it along with us for that work. So the bid package amendment 1 includes all of the previously approved owner approval letters.
Right, so
And
site
you
work,
Yep.
the electrical, and then the temporary fence, or the OALs that were previously approved for bid package 1. And just the refresher is that overall bid package was $167,925 under the projected budget.
very good.
So this is just signing off on what was presented at previous meetings. Nothing, no new information.
Very good.
But this amendment is because we haven't gotten to a guaranteed maximum price yet.
Correct.
But we're starting the work before we get to that.
Right, and then we will do the same thing for bid package 2. So we've awarded the MEPs and the site work, and eventually we'll award everything associated with bid package 2 and present another binder with the overall bid package 2 cost and GMP. But that's in the future.
Very good.
And then, do you want to talk about bid package 3? Because I think is that on the street or about to be?
Yes,
It's on the street.
that is out on the street. Bid package 3 consists of the major site work, the remaining site work on the job. So everything from digging the foundation to prepping for the fields and all the site work that's left on the project. It is all the concrete on the project, so foundations, footings, flat work, and it is the structural steel.
The only big thing that isn't included is the demolition of the existing school. That's gonna be done in bid package 4.
Correct.
And bid package 4 is the actual building
Building,
of the
yeah,
building.
except for the structural steel and concrete, it is the rest of the building.
And so does putting the new fields in place 3.5 years or so from now, is that part of bid
Correct.
package 3?
Great, yep.
So bid package 4 is the construction of it, or did I hear you say?
Package 4 is just the
demolition.
building, less the structural steel and the concrete.
Pretty much
So all
everything,
the-
everything else.
The bricks, the
Everything else,
windows,
okay.
the roofing,
Got it,
the
okay.
drywall, the flooring, everything else in the building is in bid
Yep.
package 4. Everything else in the site is in bid package 3.
Okay, and is it safe to say if there is such a thing, bid package 5 is going to be the demolition of this current building?
No, bid package, building demolition is part of bid package 4.
4, very good. Okay, thank you.
And there's only 4? There's no 5?
Correct.
There's only 4.
And the
Four is
ra-
enough.
Yeah, and the rationale for this was to allow construction to begin in pieces, and so we could, moving National Grid and Columbia Gas along and doing that first enabling piece, and then the next, to allow the utilities to go in before we take, do the switch over and take the building offline because of the existing utilities being in the footprint of where the new building is going. So we did these discrete pieces so that we wouldn't lose time in construction while we continued design. And then the final design will be complete September 30th, and then we'll bid the rest of the project, and then be working towards that GMP.
So you're expecting bid package 3 to be a fairly large number?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's 33 million just in subcontract between those three trades, somewhere in that neighborhood.
And you're expecting a very competitive bid environment?
Yes, yeah, very attractive project,
Yes.
Long-term. 3-year project.
three-year project,
Long-term. Nice
not,
stability.
not in Boston.
Yeah.
It's a nice design, it's a, you know, there's a lot of attractive pieces to this project.
We anticipate probably 5 bidders for concrete. Five bidders.
We have 3 definites confirmed, and we're still working on a couple that are, the only drawback is the market is
Really
very
busy
busy
right
right
now.
now, so, it's making sure that, it fits into people's schedules,
Mhm.
because they do have so much other work. So we're still working on a couple more.
Yeah, some people are booked out a year and a half to 2 years with their work.
Right, and we wanna be careful that, because of the size of the project, there's only a finite number of bidders that we'd feel comfortable asking them to bid on it. You know, it's sizable enough that, and attractive enough that some of the smaller players might think they can do it, but we have to be careful there, so we're making sure we're attracting the right group and asking the right group.
So what you're saying is that Joe Pickup Truck is not bidding
No.
on this?
No,
It's a
he is
lot of
not.
concrete. A lot of concrete.
Good, Scott.
It was just quick, and you started to go down the path of where I was asking the question. This is, bid package 1 is pre-GMP amendment, and the same will happen with bid package 2. At
Correct.
what point do we expect GMP? Yeah, I think you were talking at least going
When we get to bid package 4.
bid package 4, then we'll have achieved GMP, and that's standard practice for these
Yes.
project build like
Yes.
this. Okay.
I mean, I do all my projects this way.
Okay.
Because it allows us, otherwise if we waited until we had a GMP, we wouldn't be starting construction until next spring.
Fair enough.
So
And in a busy environment,
anticipate
in a
around
rising cost
February.
environment, that's been to our advantage, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Is the tariff issue hit our steel numbers?
It is factored in right now. So it's already, like, the bidders have already reflected that. They had started that months ago. So unless they increase,
Is there any possibility of getting a waiver from the federal government?
Do you know the
I think
precedent?
that's a no on his face.
shouldn't play poker, huh?
I think that was a no.
Well, no, the only reason I asked was that, for instance, one of our senators or maybe our congressional representative, have we thought of asking them whether it's possible to petition the federal government for an exemption, given the fact that it's
Doesn't hurt.
half of it's coming from the state and taxes and half of it's coming from our taxes?
That's my point.
Is there
If they're running for
a reason to
president,
ask?
right?
I'm just asking that question.
Or it
I mean,
could be
on the-
political.
Not something I'm familiar with, but
And on
if,
the one hand, you have Elizabeth Warren and just the politics of it, and Ed
Well,
Markey and.
well, I would
That's a no.
imagine that
Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren and Donald Trump aren't gonna agree on
I
anything.
don't think so, yeah.
No,
I mean, there's
no.
That surface level politics of it, but, I mean, have you ever seen that before, Mariana?
Is it
We
worth asking?
we haven't had tariffs.
you never get poor from asking. I just,
Right.
I just
I've
wondered
never
if it
seen
was
it
worth,
before.
I agree.
for instance, for you to
Yeah, I
call
can-
Lisa Nelson and say, Lisa, is this something Joe might be able to get involved in?
Yeah, I can ask, I'll ask Lisa and,
Yeah.
Ed Markey's office and Elizabeth Warren's, I can reach out. Don't ask, you don't get, so.
Yeah.
Worst
Right.
they can say is no, but I will ask.
It may be tilting at windmills, but,
Maybe we
Good
just started
question.
some.
Yep.
Why was the demolition included in the building part? Shouldn't that have been kept separate? Because there's a lot of contractors that specialize in construction. They want to take something down, but they don't want to build something.
So that's just how it's bid. We're still bidding to companies that specialize in demolition.
Oh,
We're just making it part of bid
So it
package.
doesn't, they don't have to take the whole pie, they can take a slice of it?
Well, he's gonna be bidding to someone who does brick, and someone who does drywall, and someone who does flooring, and someone who does windows.
Yeah, it's
They are acting as sort of like the GC in this case, where they're setting out all the contracts, they'll just hire someone else to do the demolition, and someone else to build windows, there's not one guy to hiring to build the building.
Yeah, there's, how many filed sub-bids?
Oh,
We already did that.
18.
We
18.
hired,
Wow.
16 we'll be using.
Yeah,
No terrazzo
that's true,
floors? No
terrazzo, no
floors,
terrazzo
no
floors.
terrazzo floors.
Well, I'm thinking literally in the
So there are
context of the law.
17
but
filed
16,
sub-bids, and then beyond that, there's other additional sub-bidders who are not part of the filed sub-bid system, correct?
Correct, in fact, all of bid package 3 falls into that category.
There are non-filed sub-bidders in the
Non-file
package three.
subbidders.
Correct.
Yeah.
So site, concrete, and steel are not
As much as they
filed.
cost, they're not filed sub-bids.
Right, and if I remember right, carpentry is
No.
not a filed sub-bid?
No.
Just a follow-up, and maybe it's based upon the timing of the last question I asked and when we would have GMP. We've met previously and talked about potentially different alt-ad items. When is the proper time in this step to even be able to revisit or think of where we are in comparison to, you know, our pricing, right?
Well, we already have that alternate number one, which is the Western Field. And the reason it's an ad alternate is because it's a site work issue. It's part of the big bid package for site work in bid package 3, so you get a better price. But because it's a site work issue and you only get reimbursed up to 8% of the building cost for the site work, it's guaranteed to be an ad cost anyway. So that is why that's an ad alternate. We'll discuss down the road in the next bid package for the building, deduct alternates, that might be something we use. God forbid the bid comes in a little high and you gotta cut it back, the only way to do that in the bid process is to have deduct alternates, you can chop away. at.
Right, I was just talking about that process, like, when's the next time that something like that considered? We may have had items we were looking at that said, oh, if we come in under, these are the next things we wanna get in.
We'll have that discussion, I think, after the 90% estimate.
Yes.
Will we, yeah.
Okay.
That's the real time to look at it, when
Yep.
we'll have a real good idea, based on the site work bids at that point, where the GMP stands, and we get our bids in for the building.
Late
We'll
July.
know, estimates of the building, we'll really know where we are.
And I just didn't,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember around the timeline of when that,
The
when that gets
90%
discussed.
set goes
So
to
that's-
MSBA.
that's July.
August 15th.
okay.
So
August
2
16th.
weeks before that, we'll have a pretty good idea where
2
we
weeks
are
with it,
with the
we'll get the
number.
estimates back, we'll have
Yep.
to have a meeting around that time to discuss that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then, I was gonna ask Steve about, you're working on the rest of the bid package number 2.
Yes. Yep.
Vetting, getting best and final offers, and the remaining trades there, if you could
Yep.
describe it a little bit.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of, there's the demolition and an abatement piece that goes with bid package 2. There's a small concrete package, there's a small masonry package, there's a small miscellaneous metals package. So the rest of that, those are smaller dollar values. I think they all add up to maybe like 250,000. That's the rest of bid package 2. We're finalizing those scopes and awards, but it is trending towards us being either just at budget or maybe a couple grand under budget overall for bid package 2.
And then,
So-
your hope and expectation would be sometime in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I was just gonna
that-
say, in the next couple of weeks, we'll have that, hopefully at a point where we're bought out and ready to recommend the rest of those trades.
Because you'll want
12th.
to start invoicing.
June 12th work for that, or do you need something prior?
Month.
Do you need 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, we
We'll be
might
close.
need something in the middle, maybe the end of,
Right?
end of May, so we're at the 8th,
8.
maybe something in the 29th range.
Do you want us to schedule a special meeting for that night? We can always cancel it.
Yeah, yes, I'd like to at least have it on the books. But as it gets closer, we'll know.
And that's to finalize BP2, right?
Correct, and then we'll
Right, so it's
bring a document like tonight where it's the whole package.
Well, that and some other OLs.
Right, as part of bid package number 3. Oh, no,
No, 2.
Two.
So the rest of
we'll
the,
have the rest of 2,
right, and then the overall number
okay,
for 2,
right,
based on
okay.
those award values.
And then when do you anticipate bids coming in for bid package number 3?
June 3rd is when they're due.
So would June 12th then work for
No.
a recommendation?
No, not for bid package 3. No, there's those,
A large scope.
those packages are gonna take a,
Month.
more of a D-scope effort because they're so big and so complicated. So we would need more time, and we'd be pretty much the month of June to be in a position to award those 3 scopes.
So late June or?
Yeah,
Late June, maybe the last Wednesday in June, what date?
that's the
first-
26th.
The first Wednesday in July is July 3rd. We probably don't want to have a
Probably don't
meeting
want
that
that,
day.
right.
So, should we schedule a meeting for June 26th as
Yes.
well?
Yeah, again, I'd rather have it on the books, and if we get to that point, it might be,
That's $33 million worth of scope, de-scoping.
we might be in a position to award 1 or 2 of the trades at that point. Be great if we could get all 3, that might be aggressive, but
Otherwise.
You're talking
the-
about the 26th of June?
26th of June, yes.
Okay, so we'll be meeting on the 5/29, 6/12, and 6/26 then, right?
And
Yes,
then,
with June 12th is a.
What would June
that's
12th
that's a
cover?
executive
Well,
session.
Yeah,
June
let's do-
12th was planned to be the executive session
Right.
to have the presentation of the security arrangements for
Gotcha.
the school.
June
Thank you.
6th and June 26th.
I was trying to keep them all in.
Yeah.
I
So-
don't anticipate.
So then, do we need to schedule a meeting in July, like the 10th or the 17th? I mean, I'm just trying to make sure that people know in advance, because a lot of people are away. So do we need to schedule a meeting at some point in July?
Yes,
we currently have July 10th. Do you
I
want to
think
hold
that,
that date?
yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, so July 10th it is.
So June 26th and July 10th, or,
Yes.
Correct. Because then we'll capture the rest of bid package number 3.
so we'll have some
Far away to plan it.
resolution and recommendations on the 26th, and then the rest are covered on the 10th.
Perhaps.
That's the goal, yes.
Perhaps,
And
maybe.
if he's not ready, he
Perhaps.
can
If
always.
not ready, then that
We
meeting.
can
We'll
cancel.
roll to
Right.
the 10th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another issue, I'm just curious, it's more of a fun issue, is the date for the groundbreaking in the fall. Would you say that's probably too far away to plan at this, or schedule at this point? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know that we've nailed down,
Too far away?
we've had preliminary discussions about, does it make sense to do it during school or in the summer? I don't know that we're quite there yet.
Okay, to be determined. Okay,
Yeah, and
very
I
good.
know,
I think the last time we talked about it, we were thinking maybe October-ish.
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, and then it's, I mean, we joke about, we've done it where, like, literally there's a truckload of sand brought in on pavement, and you call it a groundbreaking, but then we've also done it when there's actual, like, work that's in place, like foundations and stuff for people to look at, so. Depends on
What's going on?
how we wanna do it, and what do you wanna see?
So how many hard hats do you need? How many dignitaries?
Exactly.
Well, we already have
50,
quite a few of them.
And
yeah.
golden shovels.
Right, and I think that was the other piece about maybe with summer vacations, maybe leaning more towards the fall as well.
Okay. Curious about that. Is there any other business that anybody wants to bring up right now? Because I don't have anything else on our agenda. No? Okay, so it is 6:15, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Any objections? Very good. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. No, I made my donation to the Alumni Association
so you're
and bought
done.
my bird.
Good, good.
And I did,
I am, but I know people just bring me one.